introduce you to the director of It Follows, David Robert Mitchell. So first off, where did this idea come from? Where?
It's based off a series of nightmares that I had when I was a kid. When I was maybe 10 or 11 or so, I would have these nightmares where I would see someone in the distance, like walking towards me. In the dream, I was a kid, obviously I was a kid, and I would see this other little boy walking towards me. And in it, I knew that this kid was somehow a monster and was going to kill me. And I would run away from the playground and run down the street, and I'd wait, and then it would slowly turn the corner and keep coming. And then I'd get home with my family, and maybe a man would walk just right through the front door, and no one else would react, and I would, sort of run, and I'd climb out a window, run down the street, and so in the nightmare, I could always get away. It was slow, and in a way that made it scary to me, because it wasn't so much the idea of being caught by this thing, but knowing that it was always there and it was always coming. And then obviously, like, I built on it later, the sexual aspect and all that, I worked on it in the past few years, but
This dream didn't turn into a sexual dream as you got older?
I don't really remember my dreams anymore, so who knows? Who knows where it is? I had a lot of nightmares as a kid, and I got to a point where I sort of willed them away. I sort of consciously thought, I don't want to have these, and I just stopped remembering them. So I have no idea how warped they may be at this point. It's hard to say.
And what attracted you to this project? Because this is very different than what the is in the heroine. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I had read the script, and initially, to be honest, I wasn't sure how the story was going to translate into a movie. It's such a different concept, different idea, and very forward. So I watched his previous film, The Myth, and kind of fell in love with it. It has such a unique style, something so different, and so I kind of put this horror genre idea mixed in with The Myth, and had also had a conversation with David, and he had talked about the nightmares, and kind of felt I have to do this project.
You've got a really confident, the track is just exudes kind of confidence, but what I like about it too is the family that you have, your friends. I mean, it's so kind of natural and believable. How do you kind of nurture that kind of camaraderie with your actors?
Oh, well, I think it was just, it was a really great group of people who I think you guys really connected. It was sort of, the idea in the casting was looking for people who I felt might sort of work well together and connect. And I think you guys did. From the moment they all got together, they were like, you guys were kind of
all the time. Yes, really big.
How do things exist in this world, kind of the Schultz's Peanuts,
Totally.
or the elves are they're just off in the background.
For sure.
But one of the other great things about the whole atmosphere of the film, the first cut that I saw of this had a tense score. And then when I saw it with the score, it totally changed it. Could you talk about your musical choices and just the sound design?
Yeah, it's the sound design and those decisions were incredibly important to the project. A lot of things were literally written into the script, and then in terms of the music, I knew that we had I had a certain thing that I wanted, and it was I wasn't sure where to go for that. And a few years ago, I was playing a video game called Fez. It's a really great game. Anyways, played it, but and I was playing the game. The music was it was wonderful. I was like, this is amazing. And so I went and looked up and did it, and this guy, Rich, who goes by Disaster Beast, and basically I found him, emailed him, told him I was going to do this movie. Would you be interested in scoring it? And I sent him the script, and he was into it. And so we basically just started a long dialogue in terms of what we were going to do. And the truth is that we didn't start actually doing that music until the film had gone into Cannes, and we only had a few weeks to do it all. And we sort of had a long conversation of like, is this even possible? Can we pull it off? And so we worked, Rich worked every day, like till late at night. We were on the phone constantly. And it was just a back and forth in terms of, trying to get at this thing has these really beautiful melodic pieces, and then it also goes to these, it's almost like a sort of controlled noise, and it's like it's an assault in ways, and so that was kind of our goal. So I'm really happy with what he did. He's just an incredibly talented guy. And then in regards to sound design, it's just something that the editor and I worked really hard. We spent a ton of time building a temp sound design, and then just a lot of energy put into it at the next stage.
Do you have any questions from the audience right in front of you?
David, hi, how are you?
Hi, good to see you.
You know how much I love Mav,
Yeah.
and this really expanded on it to me as far as the shooting style, the slow pans, the 360 shots, the long takes. Can you talk about those decisions?
Yeah, sure. With this, I wanted to, Mike Gilakis and I, the cinematographer, we wanted to try and do something that was a little bold. We wanted to have the camera work. Not to say pull you out of the film, but to make a strong statement with it. So we shot the film with a lot of wide lenses. Most of the movies on like 18, a couple times it's 14 or 25, but pretty wide. And you let the frame sort of be open and breathe, so that you can see into the distance. You can scan the background, the edge of the frame, so that you're. The idea being that once we start to show this in the distance and different people walking in the background, that you'll begin to look more into the background and be on edge and feel the need to scan and spot them maybe before the characters do. So that's part of what the 360 shots and that sort of slow camera movement that's with a sort of open frame is all built around the idea of having it be immersive in a way.
When you see it for another time, like you're constantly scanning everyone who's around you, like, is that one? No, just start talking to someone else. Is that like, it's fascinating to revisit again. Another question. Yes, with the green stripe shirt.
Yeah, I had a question about the time period and sort of how you didn't ever really bring attention to it, that none of the kids had cell phones or computers, and what was sort of the rationale behind that?
The idea is that the movie is sort of it's outside of time somewhat. It's like reminiscent of the 80s in a lot of ways, but there are a few things that are more modern. There's a strange 60 shell compact e-reader that doesn't exist. Just strange things. I just like the idea of not like the moment you put in an iPhone 6, I guess, but when any model of a phone in your movie, you date it to a specific year. I like the idea that it was that we avoided that.
It really worked.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, the red shirt.
Why are we need to go to Snake?
Why were we going to go snake?
Micah?
Why do you have it?
Yeah, why?
Why not? That's the answer to our market here?
I think so.
Yes.
This nightmarish vision you've created has a lot of, it's compatible with the comic books of Charles Burns. My question is, have you read them? Were they influenced in the movie? And
Yeah.
if not, would you be willing to read them and make us a Charles Burns?
The question was about the influence of Charles Burns' comics.
Well, I read Black Hole years ago and really loved it. And I'm sure that it influenced me in ways that I couldn't say specifically. I wasn't directly referencing it, but it's one of the many things that probably went into. There's a lot of references in the film. I'm sure that's part of it. Yeah.
I mean, the big reference
I
is,
think it's being made. I'm pretty sure that's what's being made. Yeah.
I mean, the other big reference obviously is Halloween.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, what other was there in the cinematic things that you were quoting from? I mean,
Oh, it's
it's not Halloween.
Yeah,
So-
Creature from the Black Lagoon, that's one of my favorites. There's a bit of Shining in there, there's, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the original, and Kaufman, there's, gosh, I mean a lot, Hour of the Wolf, there's Bergman, all kinds of crazy shit.
Did he make you watch anything to kind of prep yourself?
Yeah, he sent me a list, so.
I think you want Blue Velvet.
Yeah, I remember Blue Velvet, yeah.
What else we have? Yes, yeah.
The followers, they all have different types of looks, like they have, some are much creepier, some the makeup on it, or one in the kitchen was kissing herself.
Yeah.
How do you decide how they look for the different times?
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's the idea that it doesn't look that unusual, that maybe it's someone that can blend in. So sometimes it might not want to look that way, and then other times it's the idea that it's doing something for the specific reason of upsetting and hurting and disturbing the person that they're following. And so for me, it's just about, some of it's just what felt right to me in those specific instances. Yeah, this felt right to have, the pissing it indication. I can't explain it.
And there's another question right behind it. Yes, you go.
Love the movie, mate. I
Thank you.
was just wondering, did the old stock footage, the old movies that you were showing on the TVs and stuff, was that public domain? And if it was that an artistic decision, or was it just more of a look you were going for?
Yeah, well, we wanted old movies on the TV. Some of that stuff is. We have Killers from Space, Planet of Prehistoric Women. There's a few. There's a commercial on there that would not be public domain, but it's an old commercial that was on in the Detroit area when I was a kid. The father and son construction commercial. If anybody's from Detroit, you can sing it with me. Maybe. So yeah, there's a specific choice to not have things that were modern. Yeah.
You talk about the decision to kind of shoot it around Detroit, just kind of, you really just exploit that decay and have it there as kind of, and it's also, it's interesting because this is a class that you don't often see in films. You don't often see kids who kind of like their parents are basically kind of not there, just working, and it's just, can you talk about those decisions?
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit, just north of the city. Some of this is just about the area that I know. I went to school in the city, so I spent a lot of time in these areas, and I don't live there anymore for quite a few years, but Michigan and Detroit, the Detroit area is really important to me. I care about it a lot, and I just, I build a story around this place, and I think that environment, the way the suburbs feel, they're the closest in proximity, yet a certain aspect, a certain level of distance to the city itself is a part of it, and that sort of separation for me was always a part of the story. So it's I think thematically that kind of divide was part of the reason that I was interested in the movie.
And we've got time for one more question. Yes, the blue shirt, yes, sir.
I was just wondering if any
You're a little loud, I
earlier.
can't hear you.
I was wondering if any earlier incarnations of the script had more of a mythology for the followers, or if it was always left out.
No, never. I never wanted anyone to it to be explained. For me, in this story, the act of trying to understand it or comprehend something that is truly a nightmare would place it in the realm of a film. And so if any one of us were suddenly thrown into this situation, however improbable it is, it would be, if the idea is to solve it is outside of the realm of like a dream or nightmare. And it's just, and I think it would, for me, it would take away, I don't know, I just don't think it would be as scary, at least for me.
Can I ask one final question? Did you have a favorite follower out of all of them?
No, they're all scary.
The giant?
Yeah, giant. He's actually really nice. He's a really nice guy, yeah. and I read it over and over because she was, I mean, terrifying for me, so terrifying.